I love it.
It is 100% The Rock's fault. We could have let Cena turn, could have gave a different reason why Cena turned. Never understood the sell me your soul. I'm really down on The Rock. I feel like he crapped everything up just to be like, look at me. Goosebumps.
It was cartoonish, and it was
like literally twirling mustache villain. I was like, what are we doing? Why?
Exactly.
Did Vince sneak in the building and hand the right? Hey, put this in the script.
In a world where two retired vets decided their phone conversations about WWE and storylines would make a good podcast, only one podcast dares to predict the future, where every move, every feud, every moment is overanalyzed. Grab your number 2 pencils. Get ready to step into the squared circle. This is your front row seat to the storylines as you wish they were written. Welcome to the If We Had the Pencil podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Green and Matt Jackson.
Welcome to a very special edition of If We Had the Pencil podcast. I'm your host, as always, Sean Green. With me, as always, is my tag partner. But today it is a triple threat. And that third partner here is Mikey. Mikey from the Biconics podcast. Mikey, go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks and just say hey.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. This is Mikey, the boss el jefe of BC Wrestle Pod that runs the 1s and 2s and the 3s and 4s and everything else in between. And I am here today representing Biconics Wrestling Podcast, BC Wrestle Pod for short. We are an eclectic group of individual who loves professional wrestling. And sometimes if you want to see random people yell at each other for professional wrestling takes, then yeah, that's where you can find us at BC Wrestle Pod. We love professional wrestling. We yell at each other, and we yell at the skies sometimes. It's a lot of fun for sure.
Are you guys like us, where once in a while you'll pitch an idea, and the next thing you know, it pops up, and then you're like, oh, they are listening to us.
You know, we have a running joke with some of our shows where we'll say something, and then it happens, and then our running joke is, I swear this podcast is bugged.
That's awesome. We've had a couple of those, and we're talking R-Truth was the big one. R-Truth, so when the whole R-Truth thing was going on with him and Cena, we actually laid it out line by line, how it should go, how he should come out, the music he should come out to, and we nailed it on the head. I spiked a football right after that because I was like, oh my God, we killed it. They took our stuff word for word and freaking did it, and it was great. So yeah, it's awesome though. But no, I love having you here. For the folks that don't know, these dialogues between us and them have been going on for months. They've been great about interacting with us on social media and just giving us their ideas and talk, because we're all about conversations here, especially about storylines and wrestling in general. And this is the fruition of that. And in the future, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch more collaborations. But so, Mikey, let's start off, because Matt and I are obviously fairly new to the game. We're still in season 1. Because we decided that we were going to base our seasons off of WrestleMania. So WrestleMania was day 1, week 1 of our podcast.
Right.
And then once we get back to Mania, season 2 will start. So how did you guys come around? How did it all come together for you? Our story's pretty known. It's in our intro. We talk about, we're 2 old Army vet farts that were just talking to this crap all the time. And then we were like, hey, you know what? Let's record it. And that's how this came about. So how did you guys come about?
So the story of where we started to where we are now has taken, what's the word I'm looking for? It has been a change for sure, and it has evolved into where we started. So funny enough, BC WrestlePod started back in 2022. So of course we were still within the pandemic era, and me and one of my other hosts, John, the both of us, big wrestling fans. We met during the pandemic talking about wrestling as well as other nerdy hobbies like Dungeons and Dragons, things like that, comic books, things like that. The amount of friends you can make on the internet, it was a blessing during the pandemic era. But we got to talking, and initially in our first iteration, our conversations, just like you two, were like, hey, you know what if we did a podcast and just let people hear our random strange thoughts about wrestling? And so we did it for a little bit. Then, life, got busy for all of us and all that stuff. And so we kind of put a pause on it. And then it wasn't until 3 years ago where I was like, I have the scratch to want to bring this back. But of course, because this was originally John's idea that he brought about it, because I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about, my voice and my face being on the internet. And now I'm the most comfortable doing it. But I asked if I could bring it back, and with his blessing, he's like, yeah, sure. And then through other means, we kind of collected our original core of 5, and we decided, we mostly cover WWE and AEW stuff. And then fast forward through some friends of our, core 5 of hosts and spouses, it now has evolved into a team of 15 friends.
Holy cow. Crap.
So there are a total of 15 of us spread out throughout all the stuff. And again, we started mostly primarily with WWE and AEW. And over the last 3 years and collecting all these members and, where they come from just region-wise in the States and, the things that they bring, it's due to them that we've kind of expanded. So now it's not just WWE and AEW, but now we cover TNA, BCW. Then we've branched out internationally to include New Japan and Stardom and Canadian wrestling, comedy wrestling and mystery wrestling, Progress, like the UK scene. It's become a global conglomeration, if you will.
What? Wow. No micro wrestling?
We're still looking. We're looking for it for sure.
I saw it for the first time. It was 2 years ago. They had micro wrestling at Dover for a NASCAR race on Sunday.
Nice.
And it was the most hilarious thing I have ever seen in my life. And it was amazing. And they were doing good stuff.
Yeah.
It just was a trip and a half. They own it. And you answered one of my biggest questions, because anytime Matt and I talk about y'all, I'm like, where do they get the damn time? Well, you got a whole freaking army over there, man. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not just like, oh, these are 15 random people that, we watch and, talk about professional wrestling. But it's because of it's been friends. Like, we've become friends and we've become a sort of little family over here. And it definitely has helped out. Now, of course, schedules change, things happen, people are on and off for different seasons, but I have a core group of 15 who love professional wrestling. And if we could put our group chat out onto the internet, the amount of ridiculous conversations we have in general is just fantastic. We laugh, we cry, we complain. All the emotional spectrum is within this group chat. And we're just 15 individuals who love professional wrestling. And we all grew up during the different eras, because despite me leading the charge here, I'm still fairly new. I'm only like 7 or 8 years into the wrestling game. It's not been something that I've had like years and years of experience. And I say that I survived the dark era of 2010s to 2020 WWE. And I was just like, I survived, you guys. If I can survive that, there's nothing that professional wrestling can throw at me where I'm just going to completely throw my hands up and say, call it a day.
WWE has gotten a lot better lately, than it was. It was getting so effing predictable for a time, especially in the late 2018, 2019 era, where it was just lather, rinse, repeat. It was the same crap over and over again. And we were just like, this is what's going to happen. Yep, there it is. And it got really boring. But I mean, I get your point about the different eras, though, because Matt's got, he's kind of got the dip into the 70s that I don't have. And and I'm a Attitude Era Monday Night Wars kid. So I grew up, that's when I was really hard wrestling.
Right.
So like we have that kind of different dynamic, and it's really kind of cool. So it's awesome to hear that you guys also have that same dynamic over there. So
Oh,
when I first
100%.
when I first started watching wrestling, superstar Billy Graham was the world champ. So that's so thanks to my grandmother, she got me into it. And then like once we got cable, that's when we got exposed to like Georgia Championship Wrestling, 6:05 Saturday night. Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. And my dad always thought
Mhm.
WWF was hokey. And then when he started seeing Southern wrestling,
it was
he loved
then.
the Road Warriors and he loved Dusty and all these. And it was a lot more violent. There was more blood. It was realistic, and and then world class with the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. So yeah, I've kind of almost 50 years now. It's sad to say because I'm only 38. So, but anyway, but so
And we'll be
I've
in
always
it
liked
next
it.
year.
I've gone through long stretches where I didn't watch it much. I had an ex-wife that absolutely hated pro wrestling, and so, but
How dare
and then
she?
just life happens. How dare she?
Well, it's
I got a
funny,
good
though,
girl here. She
'cause-
she watches it with me every show
Claps for that.
yeah,
until she
It's-
falls asleep.
it's
That's
it's funny
hey, you know.
though, because I took time off, right? And I talk about this a lot on the pod. I missed the entire CM Punk era, right? I was in the army, I was deploying, I was busy, I had stuff going on. And the only reason I really got back into wrestling is my daughter, who started watching all the shows. So like Total Bella or Total Divas, the Bella show, or what, all those shows. She started watching them. I'm like, I'm seeing like John Cena and a couple others, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start getting back into this. Then Matt and I met, and it's been go 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 ever since. So, but I want to get a take because Matt mentioned something, and it popped an organization in my head. So don't get yourself in trouble here. But Matt and I are primarily WWE. That's our focus group. Like we very rarely dip into like NXT, or very
Right.
rarely dip even in Triple A's tonight. That's become must watch TV. It's actually very entertaining. But
It is.
I want to get your take. I want to get your take on AEW. I
Mhm.
hold that AEW has a little brother complex when it comes to WWE. That's one. And I also want to get your take on, so from the outside looking in, watching AEW in clips, like social
Mhm.
media clips, I obviously I fully acknowledge I don't have the full picture.
Mhm.
But I really got to ask, man, what's with some of it? Sometimes it feels like they're blading just to blade and
Mhm.
bleeding just to bleed. Is that accurate? Or, talk to me about a little bit about AEW, because I'm interested. Like, I want to hear like somebody that actually talks about it and engages in it. I want to hear
Right.
like where do you kind of see the state of AEW right now?
Okay. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. So as a disclaimer, I play Switzerland when it comes to my wrestling. I love anything and I don't have favorites. I have my pros and my cons with everything that I've watched, and I think that's, just like with anything, I enjoy for what it is. I think with AEW, no, because that's been a pro and a con and a criticism at the same time for me. I think what AEW has done initially when the company first started is, it originally started like, hey, we're getting all these, indie darlings, global superstars coming together. And then once they kind of found their identity, then we started getting a roster of, folks that we saw. And now it's kind of evolved into just another promotion here for people to watch, which, is great because competition's a good thing. And you know what?
Mhm.
More options for us wrestling fans. I'm never going to complain. I think, at least I will say, the last 2 years, I think, like you brought up, Sean, is that little brother complex, especially when it comes to the blood and the violence and things like that, I think was being overused. And my mentality is that if you're going to see blood, especially in these crazy matches like what we just saw with Blood and Guts. For me, the storytelling has to warrant that in the feud or the story that you're getting into, because I am of mindset of, if you're going to do if you're not going to do a full length feud, which I'm glad that I've been traumatized by the Bloodline storyline, and we're still in this chapter 3.5 era of it. But when we got the initial Roman run, I was just like, okay, this is cool. And then we fast forward 3.5 years later. I'm like, I was like, I'll still watch, but can we? Because it was the same thing. It ended up repeating itself, and you started, repeating things, which is fine, because like writing and storytelling, tropes are going to come up. You just have to find a way to fresh it. But all to say is, where the last 2 years, AEW has kind of overused the shock and awe of the intensity of these kinds of like crazy violent matches. But I think over the last year, so kind of getting to the end of AEW last year, and from where we are now to, we're about to end 2025. I think AEW has found a way and kind of found a middle ground where you can still get the shock and awe of things, but it's not used as crazy. And then it also depends on where they are when these things happen. Like at Wrestle Dream, because it was in St. Louis, we didn't see too much blood from Moxley and Darby's match. We saw Darby get drowned in a tank, which was crazy. I was like, this is the first time I've seen that, so that's interesting.
Do you know why? Do you know why they cut out on the blood in St. Louis? Because they actually have a pro wrestling athletic commission.
Yeah, the commission is Yep. And it's the same thing back in January when we did a watch along for GCW's show in the Hammerstein Ballroom, where we were waiting for an hour because the commission, after somebody broke their leg live during the stream, which was nuts to watch, we had to wait for ambulance to take person to hospital, but then we had to wait for a second ambulance to get to the show, and then they continued with the show. So it just depends as well. Yeah, shout out to Allie Katch, though. She's good to go. She's slowly getting back into the ring. Love her to death. But I think AEW has found a balance between, just wrestling to wrestle and then the shock and awe of it. And I think I think the important thing is the feedback, because that's something that fans have been complaining about. Because don't get me wrong, I love me some good blood and violence, because I love all types of wrestling. I'm a sick freak. I get pleasure from that, because it's intense. But I'm also of the criticism where it needs to be warranted, and I think AEW has kind of finally found the middle ground for stories to escalate into that. Or, if you've been telling a story or a feud for the last couple months, then settle it in the ring like we saw with Blood and Guts with the men and the women's matches.
Matt harps on this all the time. He's like, it's fine to cut when it makes sense, right? And then if all you're doing, and it can work at the opposite too, like, from our perspective, like WWE, the cage match with Jacob Fatu, which was a nothing burger, and it was like, well, I want to see people getting their face dragged across you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're gonna put that there, make it make sense. And it's kind of,
I was so frustrated with that. I'm like, the story made sense given the match that we got, and then we got 8 minutes. I was like, what is happening? I was like, this was not. I was so mad.
We were too. We were like, oh, that was just blatant disappointment across the board with that one. So
I was like, how dare you?
Yeah, it's like, don't.
My feeling on blood, I was kind of having some internet problems, but I think I fixed them. Blood, I always like blood in wrestling, so I think WWE could use a little bit more, and AEW could use a little bit less. Because I was actually texting back and forth with Mikey when I tell him, like, hey, I'm watching Blood and Guts, albeit the next day, because curiosity, because I already saw enough clips on social media, like, well, I want to check this out. I thought it was just like a little bit too much, like, and I get it. War games, you're going to have more blood, but like, even on the men's side, like, who was the guy who had the gray trunks? Was it O'Reilly or whatever his name was? Or
Kyle O'Reilly.
He was like
covered in crimson by the end of this thing.
He tapped like an artery or two. Like, I'm like, I mean, it wasn't quite Eddie Guerrero JBL bad, but I mean, it was up there. But so with me, like, yeah, I like it when like Like, I think I said even before when Cody Rhodes was fighting Bronson Reed on SmackDown last week, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like, Bronson needs to beat Cody bloody. But we also talked, too, about how
Mm-hmm.
Cody, to get more sympathy, needs somebody that just makes his life miserable. And I think last night we found out
Mm-hmm.
that Drew McIntyre, his purpose in life is to make Cody miserable, and that's what Cody needs. Didn't want to get too far off track, but it kind of ran into it. But, like, it was
That
good to see Cody bleed last night. Yeah, fantastic.
That promo last night from Cody Rhodes is exactly what you needed. And I've long attested, and Matt and I were texting about this back and forth during it. I was like, angry Cody is the best Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when he promos angry, it makes so much more sense. It feels so much more compelling. But last night, it was brilliant because not only did he show you the passion of why he's PO'd, he also answered the question of, why do I give a crap about Drew McIntyre again? After saying and he even said it, I'm done. And now now I give a crap again because you got in my business, or,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so well done. Like, that SmackDown last night, not to deep dive on it, but that SmackDown last night was probably the best SmackDown I've seen in like a long time, top to bottom. Like, I had no gripes. So it was just, and that Cody promo was just kind of the antithesis of that, where it's like, holy crap, he answered all the questions, he gave us the why. That's all I want. I want the why, because our pod's all about storytelling. So it's like, make it make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of which, well, because sometimes I don't want to be in an echo chamber. First off, kudos to you for making the Switzerland point about this. We're kind of like that. Well, we're very much so like that, even when it comes to talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, but sometimes you got to drag talent because they need to be drugged, right? And it's just like, so you're always putting the disclaimers out, like, look, we get it. It's not to besmirch them, but it needs to be better. You know what I mean? And, like, so kudos to you on that. So Matt and I have been harping for a couple of weeks now. WWE has got to get off this 3-week cycle of PLE Saturday night's main event, because here's the problem. You can keep that if you do it in a way where, okay, everybody that's going to be on Saturday night's main event, with maybe one or two exceptions, their stories are going to stop there. And then everybody else's stories are going to continue to build until the next PLE. Because right now, War Games is like the best example of this. It's just like, okay, we finished the Saturday night's main event. And okay, put all the teams together and let's get all the teams together. Who's the fifth? Okay, cool. And like, Charlotte is probably the best example. SmackDown, she's like, I'm out. And we're like, cool. Leave a little ambiguous, keep it a little ambiguous. We all knew she was going to go in, but
right.
like, drag it out for a little bit. And then Raw, it's like, okay, I'm in now. And it's like, boy, that would have worked a lot better over like a couple of weeks, like just making me give a damn.
No, I 100% agree. And we, on our Sunday show for WWE, the term that we use, it's kind of like WWE with this repeat of like the 3-week cycle of between, the Saturday night main events and the PLEs and all the, special stuff they do. It's like when we were younger and, either in the car or on the school bus or whatever your mode of transportation was that didn't involve a bike, like some sort of automobile. WWE has felt like it was trying to finish its homework and it was due like in the next hour before they get to school. So they were trying on the bus and the car to finish writing everything. And so when they turned it in, it's like, it's not the worst thing I've seen, but you could have done better. So it's like in that middle of the road kind of feeling. And I feel that that's where I love WWE. I think there's a lot of good talent on main roster and to NXT to a certain extent, where I think the talent's really good. I think and I feel that, it's funny because at the beginning of the year, WWE said, it's like, oh, yeah, we're not going to go too crazy. It's like, we're going to space these pay-per-view outs. And it was just like, why are we getting like, this was the same issue that I had when we had like brand specific pay-per-views back in the day, like in the 2010, 2015s where we had Raw pay-per-view. Then like 2 weeks later, yeah, exactly. I was just like, why do we have a pay-per-view every month? We don't need a pay-per-view every month. Then again, I look at the other promotions that we cover. I'm like, yeah, you have a pay-per-view every month, but at least you have 4 to 5 weeks between each to build. My mentality is for any promotion, again, I'm not a booker, I'm just a wrestling fan, but this is where my mindset comes from. I feel that you can have, like, treat the whole entire calendar year as a season: winter, spring, summer, fall. If you're gonna do a pay-per-view a month, or at least spread it out to like a month and a half, and then have two. You have like I don't want to call it B show pay-per-view, but one that has stakes, but it's not one of the quote unquote big four of a company. But everything should lead into that big four pay-per-view, which is like the season finale, leading you into what the next 3 months is going to look like, and then just keep going.
That's how they used to do it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They got away from that. But yeah, and the funny thing is, you talk about like the minor PLEs. Sometimes like those end up being the best shows too. Like they
Right?
blow away the. You watch that like, holy shit! Like some SummerSlam sucked or whatever. And like they throw like this no name nothing PLE, and you watch it and like that was great. But and then like they're talking at 26, like what SummerSlam's 2 nights now. Was it Money in the Bank they're talking about doing 2 nights? Like if you're gonna do that, then you gotta get rid of the 3-week PLE. Like you can't too much stuff. Too many chefs are gonna spoil the soup.
So there's a couple of notes in this as we talk about this, though. So I don't have a problem with all four big four for WWE becoming 2-night shows.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to properly do that, what you have look to your point, like why are we doing this? The roster is deep. AEW can get away with this too, right? The roster is deep, deep, deep. But you have to plan it accordingly, right? So let's put I don't care that Punk's got the belt. He kind of got it by default right now. But let's like look back when Seth Rollins had the belt, right? You could have gotten away with put Cody on Saturday night's main event defending against somebody because right now there's no good heel. And then you have Seth out there on a PLE, not the big four, out there defending his title during. But what you do is you took that 3-week cycle and made it 6, right? And then when you get to your big four, then we get lottie-dottie everybody in the pool, right? Like everybody's going, everybody's freaking making it happen because then we get something really good and we get meaningful builds right now because that's my biggest beef was like, it was like a light switch went off for War Games and it was like, and so like the Raw right after Saturday night's main event was basically the after Saturday night's main event Raw, and then SmackDown hit, and it was like, okay, Regal came out and was like, War Games, and like, let's go, so it's like really an interesting dynamic, but like, it's got to go. Like, I want meaningful builds. I'm willing to accept some risk throughout the month of December, so long as when we hit that new calendar year and it's WrestleMania season, I need meaningful storylines because right now, Drew could build himself back up to make him just the ultimate and ultimate bad guy for Cody. Right, he was doing a great job of it, and they just don't put him over. Cody's kind of getting the Roman treatment where it's just like, can he just lose, please? Make it stop. He can go back and chase. He can get it back. It's okay. He lost to Cena. That opened the door for now Cody can lose title. You know what I mean? He's not immortal. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts?
So I think the thing is that when you have like a pure, like with Cody, for example, well, at least this current iteration, and this is kind of my rule of thumb in general, when you have a pure baby face, like you need to find a way to make it more interesting. You don't have to always, and this was my biggest issue too, because I love Sami Zayn with all my little heart, right? I love my ginger hobo, as I call him, because I love him to death. And honestly, oh yeah, the nicknames we come up with for our favorite wrestlers is ridiculous.
Hey, Sean, you are now my ginger hobo, okay?
Oh my god.
So, especially during the pandemic era when he was wearing his little cat and his sweater and just looking disheveled, I was just like, I will always hold a little special place in my heart for Sami Zayn, right? But my biggest issue was, even still now, is that I feel that Sami Zayn has been on main roster long enough and has accomplished enough where I was like, do we really need him to be a underdog baby face in all of this? I understand that's I understand that's a trope that we always follow, and it makes a good, compelling story. But if that is all you are, then it kind of, wears out its welcome. But I bring that up and I say that because I feel that Cody is on the opposite end. He is a top babyface. He's always in the main event. He's always in the main segments. He has the championship, for goodness sakes. But I think the issue is with this current run with Cody as champion is that what you brought up, Sean. There's no real heels, and typical heel versus face dynamic is what sells a match or what can sell a story. And because SmackDown is lacking in actual heels, or they won't let other baby faces go up against Cody just to have a match to have the match. You can make face versus face encounters work. And the other thing is that you don't have to put the championship on the line. Yeah, exactly. But it's not.
They have been doing it lately. They haven't in a while, and they started doing it again. So we kind of picked up on that. And then, well, I'll defend Cody for a smidge in this sense. We all know who the next heel is for Cody. We all know he hasn't been on TV for a while. We all know this WrestleMania season between January and WrestleMania who the heel is, and that's Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story there. It's in depth. We're going to get a multi-month story with Cody. That's just my theory. I don't have any insider knowledge or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. So, but I think that he's the next great heel for Cody because it's a story, there's history, it makes sense. That's where that's going. And that's probably why we haven't really seen Randy for a while. We're in that character reset absence thing going on. But
you know what's going to be great about Randy and Cody real quick? The investment from the Cody and Randy fans. There's going to be a massive amount of fan investment in this feud. I think there is with Drew and Cody because I really like Drew and everybody Drew's kind of been screwed over. He was the champion during the pandemic and then CM Punk screwed him. So he's never had that glorious moment in front of the big crowd. So that's why we were kind of pulling for Drew to beat Cody. But so people have got invested in Drew, but people have been invested with Randy Orton now for over 20 years. And, now you got all your Cody. I just think it'll be so compelling. And if they do it right, I think it'll be a huge story. And it'll finally get Cody away from some of this, which he's kind of now finally gotten away from the bloodline crap. And he's kind of on his own thing. But I think it's something that's going to bring out that Cody that we like, that aggressive, kind of more intense Cody rather than the signing belts and hugging fans types, which is cool in its own way, but I want to see Cody carry that aggressiveness with him.
But I think that's the point that I want to get at too is that people are like, Cody should turn heel, and I was just like, well, that is an option. That is an option. That's not the best choice. However, you can still be a babyface, but you can have a depth to your character if that makes any sense. Like you both brought up is the signing belts, Cody is cool because that's cool. That's what the little kids are for. And, that's who WWE wants to gain more of is so these kids grow up into adults who will want to take their kids to these events. It's like any good business model, any entertainment model. However, for the storytelling and the character development aspect, you can't be a one-dimensional character. Now, you can do a shtick and be good at it, but there has to be varying layers and depth to that shtick that you do. So Cody can still be, I'm going to sign, the proverbial I'll sign belts and kissing babies, baby face Cody Rhodes. But then also when needed, it's like, oh, okay, so you're going to be messing up in my business. So now we have a problem. We're going to fight it out. And then, you can still be that face where, he is the quote unquote face and, public figure, but then also can throw down and throw hands when need to.
Well, I think we saw the best example of that was his program with KO, right? That led to that match. I think that's where we got to see edgier Cody, and I think that's the biggest challenge that they're having with him is they have to walk this fine line of we want to keep him, we want to keep him PG, right? Like that's ultimately what they're doing. He's the face of the company to everybody, right? We're all going to have our likes and our dislikes, but Cody is like the face. He's the guy that's going to go on all the shows. He's the guy that's going to, shake babies and, all that good stuff. So that's cool. All right. So I gotta get your opinion on another very hot take from this year. What is your take on John Cena's heel turn? What is your take? What was your take on the John Cena, the whole thing? The whole thing. I'm really curious on what your thoughts are on that.
Okay. Let me just take a deep breath. Okay.
And when you need me to, tap me in, I'll talk you off the ledge and tell you why it was a good thing.
So here's, now that it's kind of the dust is settled and now that we've gotten, a return to Cena in his, face form, here's what I'll say about the whole run as him as heel. I think it was actually pretty fun for me personally, and we had a good time with it. I think the biggest issue that, at least at BC WrestlePod, that we had with it is that he's a heel now. What are we doing? And who are we going to put him up against? I feel that we kind of just bypass, some other things that we could have done. And once Cena turned heel, which was back in March? Yeah, back in March.
Yeah,
and then he won
about that time frame.
He won the title at Mania, carried it all the way into summer. It's summer? Yeah.
SummerSlam, yeah.
And then he
August.
lost it.
Yeah, he lost it at SummerSlam.
So within that span of a couple of months, heel character work was fun. Watching him make kids cry, both in the States and international, was a fun time as well. I was just like, and it goes back to dimension of character. The problem I had with it is that you didn't book anybody else because you had this through line of heel Cena, and then we could have had something really cool with R-Truth, Ron Killings. Like, that could have been fun, but we got it at a Saturday night's main event, and we called it a day. And then lo and behold, bam, he was gone. And then he made a reappearance at Money in the Bank. And now he's back to being a funny character. That's a whole different topic. We can discuss at a later date. But the issue that I had with this whole Cena heel run is that you had the heel turn. You had the ending at SummerSlam where he's like, oh, I understand the error of my ways. And here I am. It took Cody fighting me at SummerSlam and taking the title for me to realize that. In between all of that, you did Lex to nothing with it. The mic work was fantastic, but as far as the wrestling wise, you could have had one or even two opponents if the inevitable result was Cody. I feel that it was not Cena's fault. It was not the, talent's fault. I blame everything on creative because they had an idea, but they could not figure out and executed it poorly, is where I stand with it.
Okay. So this is going to be a mix of what I feel and a mix of my tinfoil hat on. So
I love it.
Bear with me on this. So first off, tinfoil hat. It's all The Rock's fault. Anyways, we'll just go from there. We've kind of said the same thing. Of ever being part of that storyline, if he had no intention of actually carrying some of the water during that, it is 100% The Rock's fault. We could have let Cena turn. Could have gave a different reason why Cena turned. I never understood the sell me your soul crap. Damn it. I'm really down on The Rock because I feel like he crapped everything up just to be like, look at me, goosebumps. Like, F that dude. I'm so PO'd because he like
Sorry.
It was cartoonish. It was like very cartoonish, and it was
It was like literally twirling mustache villain. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
why?
Exactly.
I was like, did Vince sneak in the building and like hand the right? Hey, put this in the script.
It's like, oh no.
So that's it. Because the problem is he set expectations. He injected himself, set expectations. He basically crop dusted the entire WWE. He like walked into the room, cut one, and ran the F off. Right? That's what The Rock did. So,
how dare?
and it's all tied to the John Cena freaking thing. All right. So, why the John Cena heel turn was important? One,
Mm-hmm.
it gave you a reason for him to go up against baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only so many opponents that he could have gone up against. And it would have been, if we didn't have the heel turn, this is the promo we would have got every week. I respect you. You respect me. Blah, blah, blah. You're the GOAT. La, 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 la. And it made it boring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I don't disagree with you that the execution was wonky, but let's also keep in mind, he wasn't exactly at his current level of wrestling when he started his heel run. So by making him a heel, they gave him the opportunity to do shady crap to cover up for him getting the ring rust off and becoming quasi full timer. You know what I'm saying? Because he looks 100% better at SummerSlam than he did at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the final reason why good, bad, or indifferent the heel run happened is this nostalgia trip that we're on for these last couple of months is what we needed, right? And I think everything was further complicated with him because the fans were like, oh, cool, he turned heel. Wait a minute, it's his last year. Shit. Okay, cool. I want to cheer for you, but you're a bad guy. But I really want to cheer for you because it's the last time I'm going to see you, but crap. You know, you kind of box yourself in, right? So, and the good part with him coming out, it kept a segment of this last year fresh, right? Because otherwise, you guys probably do it too. If he would have came out and he was just going over to get over, we would have been like, really? We're just hand waving and just doing this. So it made everything after SummerSlam so much better. Like that 3-on-3 match that they had the other night.
That was so much fun.
It was a blast. Like the synchronized 5-knuckle shuffle and all that stuff. It's fun. We can enjoy him now. And like, but if we would have had babyface John Cena throughout the entire year, you know, all the way up to that point, we'd be like, TikTok mofo, is it December yet? Like, are we done? Make it stop. You know, so we broke up the monotony of what it could be. And once he got past those couple of faces that they really wanted him to go up against, then we got to revert back to, okay, he's the good guy. And now we're just going to have all the great memories and we're going to do really cool matches. And he's going to do a 3 freaking program with freaking Dominic Mysterio and put him over to the moon. You know, it's really great stuff, and credit to Mysterio too. Like, whoo, good stuff. But that's me talking you off the edge, brother.
Yeah. But so you just mentioned Dom, and I tell you, it wasn't but what, 2 years ago, and we were not big on Dom. That dude has worked his tail off. He owns his character. And like I always tell Sean, like, you know, they'll turn Dom face either when the fans turn him face or when like Ray's getting ready to retire, and they'll have like the big reunion. But right now, after watching Rey Mysterio come back in that 6-man tag, I'm like, Ray may go till he's 60 because I think Ray's 51. Like Ray's timeless, but Dom,
I'm telling you,
Dom,
man, those stem cells, they do wonders.
well,
I saw that South Park episode.
Oh boy, here we go.
Man,
I'm gonna sit back and let you talk South Park for. No.
Oh
But like him,
boy.
but two guys that like I've really become a big fan of have been Dominic Mysterio. I'm gonna say three is and Dragunov and JD McDonough. That Ilya JD match last night. That's the pro wrestling I love. Like I get excited about that stuff. It's just, it was so good. Again, I don't want to get into like last night's show, but I think that was the most fun show as far as like the wrestling was good. The backstage
Mhm.
and promo stuff wasn't over. It was just laid out so good. Like they woke up like they did their homework, Mikey. Like they did it well ahead of the due date, and they got like an A grade for it because 3 of the 4 matches I had in the A grade range. And the only one that
Mhm.
wasn't was Penta and Finn, and that was a B plus, only because it was short because they had to get the girls out to finish the show because we can't go a
Mhm.
minute over 2 hours until we go 3 hours in January.
Yep. When I saw that, I was just like, On the one hand, I'm like, 6-hour main roster shows, this is already a lot. And then I was like, but if they can figure it out and find the right rhythm, like if they can take whatever the stuff that worked from last night's episode of SmackDown and be able to make it work for 3 hours and also include a little bit more, I I missed like when we got the 3-hour SmackDowns at the beginning of the year. It was one of the things that I look forward to, and they were doing pretty good for a while as well. It's like, hey, you know
they
what?
were.
We got to focus on different things. People are doing things, and I think again, not to go too deep into last night's episode of SmackDown, but I think last night's episode of SmackDown should be a blueprint because it had a little bit of everything. You had good wrestling, you had serious character development, you have your comedic spots like with Chelsea Green hiding in a closet somewhere because she don't want to fight, she don't want to talk to Jade, and then Jade finds her anyways.
Oh,
like
we love
She's
we
on
love
her
Chelsea.
wall of fame.
Yeah, her, R-Truth, and Paul Heyman are like those are the three. Like we'll hunt you down if you say bad stuff about them to us. Like
I love Chelsea as a performer. But what makes me love Chelsea even more is her as a person because, again, she is a wrestler who also stands on business when the time is needed. She's like, no, she's not afraid to call people out on their shenanigans, and I'd stand for Chelsea with that. And her and Ethan Page as this duo is so ridiculously fun for AAA and NXT. I'm like, they're so ridiculous, and I love it.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing with Chelsea Green, and it's when she has 1 minute of airtime,
Mm-hmm.
she only gets 1 minute. I have never, ever, ever seen somebody maximize 1 minute, 30 seconds, what have you. The littlest time on TV that she gets, and she like skyrockets every effing time you put her. Like to your point, the hiding in the closet thing, freaking hilarious. But did you need a ton? No, you're just like, love it. When when the women's U.S. title came out, and she was like, it was between what, her and Michan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Matt, I was like, oh my god, give her a belt, let her just run amok, man, let her go, let her cook, because I knew as soon as she got that title, she was going to be insufferable, and I love it.
It was so much
Like I'm
fun.
so happy. Like I was like, let her go, let her cook all day every day, and it's just, that's why she's on our wall of fame, Mount Rushmore, whatever, because you're never, it is so hard for a wrestler to be able to take that little bit, that nugget, and go that far. And I don't know if it was her or somebody else, like she brought up the point too, like I don't need to win, I still get paid,
Mm-hmm.
yep, she
something
said
to
that.
that effect.
Yep.
But like, oh, yep, yeah, she's like, fine, you can pay me for 30 seconds, I don't care, I don't need to win a match. It's like, okay, cool, so long as we get out of that recycle crap. Like that's another thing we cry about like a lot, which is they do have a bad habit, especially in the women's division,
Mm-hmm.
of just regurgitating the same opponents. Like you got this like little 4-person pool. It was like Piper Niven, that whole crew, Me Chen, and it was just like lather, rinse, repeat. It was like, we're just gonna cycle through all these people over and over again. It's like, change it up. Let's go something different, please.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mikey,
Yes, sir.
ask us questions, man. I've been talking my ass off. I apologize. This is about you. So, like, what do you want to know about us, man?
Well, okay. So, because that's a good question. So because I'm so used to being the one that leads the conversation and letting all my other hosts, get their 2 cents in, I was just like, you know what? I want to hear what they have to say. So, but you know what? This is going to be a fun one. So you mentioned your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, right? So, and we always do this in our group chat too, because it's funny to watch everyone's reactions. But we can do it. We'll just say, if you had to pick, 4 wrestlers to be on your Mount Rushmore, and it can be, we'll just say it can be from any era, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, modern, like, or even better, if you were to recommend, be like, hey, this is a starter pack of wrestlers, you should check out their work, in terms of like, to get a feel for somebody who's like, hey, I want to watch wrestling, and they go into the archives, or they want to watch the modern product. Who are your 4 wrestlers that you would put in that starter pack to introduce a new wrestling fan to?
Go ahead, Matt. You're
wow.
up.
Damn. Number one, I think you got to put Hogan on there. Hogan's got to go on there just because of what he did for the business. I mean, I don't think it would be as big as it is. See, number 2, man. I'm going to say who's not going to be on my Mount Rushmore list. And until a few years ago, he would have been the first man I would have mentioned, and that would have been Ric Flair. But I think Ric Flair was kind of a one-dimensional guy. I'd have Terry Funk would be another one, and let me see, number 3. I got to go with Stone Cold for number 3, and my last one, man, I guess Undertaker, just because of his long run. So, but I mean,
Big time.
it's tough because there's a lot more too. Because like my all-time favorite heel was Don Morocco, and I love guys like Morocco and Valentine, and then the '90s stuff. But then I love like Bret Hart and like Owen Hart and all that. So it's tough. But I mean, Terry Funk, because he'd been around since the '60s, and he just would never retire. But like he morphed himself from like being, the NWA style to the hardcore stuff to just being that guy that kind of, if it wasn't for Terry Funk, ECW may never have been as big as they were. So I think I like to look at influence too. It's not just the wrestling skill of the character. I think it's their influence. So you can't deny Hogan, you can't deny Funk, you can't deny Stone Cold, and then Undertaker, because he's 35 years or 30 years, and he was able to change that character and even go back to the original character, and it worked. So that's my 4. Who you got, Sean?
All right. Okay. So I'm going to agree with you on Hogan. It's the historic matches that have become mainstream, and it's also the influence on pop culture and everything else, right? Like, wrestling was just kind of a niche thing. It was a kid's thing. And Hogan was really kind of the first guy that kind of like made it, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to know wrestling, but you knew who Hulk Hogan was. You knew what he did, but it made wrestling, you know what I mean? It kind of bridged that gap. And that leads me to number 2, which is Stone Cold, right? Like, as much as Hogan did, Stone Cold did more. And why? Because for us crusty old bastards of my generation, like, you were cool if you had a 316 shirt, right? Like, that was a big deal. And especially during the 90s, like, the 2 biggest things that you would see is DX, and DX was only around for like 2 years. But like DX and Stone Cold, but Stone Cold just traversed, and like Stone Cold had so many memorable things about him. Kind of like same as Hogan, right? Like, we're always going to remember him slamming Andre. That was a huge deal. And it's like same with Stone Cold, where like WrestleMania 13 where he's in a sharpshooter up against Bret Hart and he's just gushing blood down his face. You're never going to get something that iconic. He went head to head with Mike Tyson. So much of Stone Cold. He got into a fight with Booker T in a grocery store, for crying out loud, which is
I need more wrestling to do that.
One of the most hilarious things. To your point, like if you're going to make somebody watch this, I want them to see that. I want them to understand, like, this is awesome. My number 3 is Mick Foley.
That's a good choice.
The dynamic of Mick Foley, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and Mankind, and the amalgamation of all 3 of those dudes. That guy, like, if I'm saying to somebody, I did it with my kids, and I do it with every a-hole that says, wrestling fake. Like, I'm like, hold on. Undertaker, Mankind, you let me know how he faked this. And you see him getting tossed off the top of the cage. And then you see him fall through the cage onto the mat and onto tacks and everything else. I'm like, you can't fake that. But like him as a character, he was so good at sucking you in with his characters. And the cool part was if you followed Mick Foley all the way through, right? Like up through his WWE iterations. Like I know he did a lot of stuff with Terry Funk back in the day and everything else. But if you follow Mick Foley throughout his journey, every character had its own little flavor. And like when he started mixing and matching, so it was like, oh, I'm scheduled to go up against Mick Foley, and out comes Cactus Jack. And people are like, oh, wait a minute, not cool, right? Like to have that presence of mind, to have that like triple character where like, okay, I'm going to go this route with you because it calls for it. Yeah, I just huge on that. And then I think the 4th one's always tough because there's a lot of people that should be eligible, but I'm actually, and maybe it's recency bias, but I am going to put Cena on there because, and I'll tell you why, because Cena, just like Stone Cold was a bridge, just like, Hogan was a bridge back in the day. I think Cena is also one of those bridge characters that we went through a dark effing time with WWE of the PG era, right? And he was kind of the continuity and the glue that took that through, but he also kept wrestling mainstream enough that even though they lost a little momentum, they still stayed relevant, right? Like one of the funniest John Cena things ever, and you can argue with me all day if you have not heard it, is the crank call thing where like the guys are doing the crank call and they just keep on playing his feet. You know who loves the vets? John Cena. like it was such a great thing. And like, but my point is that he's another one of those that like transcended everything into pop culture. And like, again, John Cena, what he does, but he also like kind of bridges the gap. Like, like I said, there's arguments to be made for your Flairs of the world. There's a lot of great wrestlers, but I think like if I have to do a Mount Rushmore, you have to be more than just a wrestler. It's kind of part of the reason why I partially shit on all this praise being heaped on to Roman Reigns, right? Like, I look at Roman Reigns as just a wrestler. He doesn't do anything new for the sport. He's just really good. He got hooked into the Bloodline storyline, which, bro, what was it? A week or two ago when one of the announcers was like, it was when he came back out on Raw, they made him the 5th guy. And like, the announcers are like, oh yeah, he did all this great stuff by himself. I'm like, bro, he couldn't win a match by himself to save his ass. Like, it just.
And I know I have a small little soapbox with that one. I love Roman dearly. I truly, truly do. I think when whenever he retires and we've kind of let it settle, it's like, you know what? Roman was a pretty interesting character. I know the fan base loves him and everything, but I was like, commentary, don't lie to me. This is like the 5,780th time like he's returned. I was like, we've been doing this for 5 years. What do you mean?
I know. Oh, bro, you and I, we'll just get a double soapbox on the Roman Reigns issues. Like when he came back last week. First off, I thought he wasn't going to see the Usos until Christmas. I guess we just wiped our ass with that. I know it's hyperbole, but my big problem is where's the why, right? Like, okay, I get it, it's the vision, but where's the why? Like, why are you here? Why are you working with Cody Rhodes, who has your belt? Why are you working with CM Punk? Why, who you got pissed off that Heyman went out and got for you in a War Games match? Why are you working with these people? And honestly, you tell me if my theory is wrong, Mikey. I want to hear your thoughts. Matt already knows my theory on this. I attest to this day that Roman Reigns is still a heel. Do not let the pops that he gets because he graces us with his presence once every 6 weeks. Look, somebody figured out not to be on a 3-week cycle. He's on a 6-week cycle. But don't let the pops fool you that he graces us with his presence, that he is a face. He's still doing all the heel shit. He still comes out, blah, 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 acknowledge me. That's heel shit. You're making them worship you, dude.
Sean's fired
and like,
up.
even his, you know how I get. But, well, no, because I'm going to give Mikey a soapbox, but I wanted to explain my context on this. I attest Roman Reigns is still a heel. He has not made a full transformation into a face. And he hasn't done anything that makes me give a crap either way. Honestly, he just shows up. He's a guy, But thoughts, Mikey?
Well, I will agree with you. And I think that Roman Reigns is still technically a heel. I think and this is where I approach it. So, again, when it comes to face and heel dynamics, there has to be a depth and different dimensions to it. Like, not everyone can be the same heel. To me, Roman Reigns currently falls under the archetype of the heel, like very egocentric. He's not outright, like taking, candy from a baby, stealing money from your grandma's purse, like dastardly, like Saturday morning cartoon type villain stuff. He is the heel in the sense where, his actions aren't necessarily outright like, oh, they're super bad, so therefore he's a bad guy. But his ego is what is his weapon, and he weaponizes that ego because, again, it's like you said, people are like, he has acknowledged me. This is like, the worship from the crowd, the way that he carries himself, the way that he interacts with his own family members, where it's instead of it being like a familial relationship, it's more of a subordinate relationship. Roman Reigns is the equivalent to kind of a king who has gone mad with power, but people are either too enamored with him or too afraid of him to say anything and overthrow the corrupt king in order to establish, balance to the world, if you will. I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of writing, so I do a lot of, tropes when it comes to those kinds of things for my comparison. So I draw from a lot of places. But Roman Reigns is an egocentric heel where that ego, once it pops, then you can begin the downfall and the rebuild up of Roman Reigns. However, WWE hasn't presented us a situation currently or any other wrestler who can be a credible threat to that ego, or the attempts that we've had seen. I was like, we know this isn't going anywhere. If you're going to make it someone credible to make that ego pop, make it believable. And the people that Roman has gone up against, I was like, we know where this is going. We know that there is no way that this will be the downfall of Roman Reigns. But I think that Roman's ego needs to have that downfall, kind of like a certain person with 18,000 belts in AEW. We need the Icarus flying too close to the sun, begin that downward spiral, reevaluate the things of why they do what they do, and then it can be more compelling. Now, don't get me wrong, Mercedes and this belt collector is fun enough, and I actually enjoy it. And again, tonight she's going up against, for the second time for the women's title. The fun story is that she can collect all these belts, but if they execute it correctly, she still can never get the job done when it comes to the big one. And I feel that Roman needs to have that Icarus flying too close to the sun moment for him to kind of truly transition into face.
Oh, by the way, spirit animal, I need to add to your little thing. So Matt will back me up on this. Matt will back me up. My transformation of Roman Reigns has always been he has to hit rock bottom and he has to be humbled. Like, he has to hit rock bottom to the point where even the Usos are flipping him the double birds.
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn's like, you screwed me, you screwed them, you screwed everybody. And like, they've dipped their toes in it. He's basically got to get humbled to the point where he has to quasi apologize to his family because he just uses them, right? Like, he puts them in bad positions and uses them, and they try to help him, and then he's just like, F you, I don't want to see you until Christmas.
So he's kind of he's an addict. He has to hit rock bottom. That's
no, and you know what, Matt, you brought that up, and I was going to exactly say the same thing because, again, knowing individuals who have been a part of that process, one of those steps is making amends. And honestly, I agree. I think if Roman is going to truly transition into a face, he has to hit rock bottom. He has to have the other people he's been using to finally actually be like, no, I'm done. We're done with it. You got your own stuff you need to work out. So when you do, I'm like, especially with the Usos, it's like, we love you, cuz, but we ain't gonna forget all the crazy stuff that you put us through. So we love you, but
I thought we were getting that with Jimmy, honestly. I thought we were getting it with Jimmy when he started poking around Jay, and like, they kind of took it in and they kind of turned the off switch on that. This is the 3-week build thing. Sorry, not to go divert the conversation, but like, we were toying with Jay becoming more like Roman, and we were toying with, and we could never turn Jay heel, but what we could have done was take him to the precipice and then reeled him back in, right? And they kind of just hit the off switch, and like, I call Matt, I call it what, the Vin Diesel card, the Fast and the Furious card. Like, with anybody with a Samoan heritage, it's just like family, and like, that's it, right? That's the answer to everything, and it drives me batshit crazy because it's like, yo, that dude screwed you over and made you, he used and abused you, and you're just like, and then he walks in with the Vin Diesel card and he's like, family, and that's it,
And and here's the thing, right? If you actually have like familial relationships with wrestlers, WWE with the whole bloodline thing, it's just been the generalized stereotypes of what you see with family. It's just like, oh, because we blood. But that doesn't mean anything. It's just like family dynamics and relationships in general, whether it's with significant others, siblings, parents, cousins, whatever it is, they are dynamic and they are complex. And I'm not saying that these relationships with the Usos and Roman and Solo and all the Samoans in the Fed right now, they don't need to be super complex because then you get to muddy the waters. But you can still be a family, but be at odds with each other. It's like, for example, it's just like if you get into a fight with your sibling and you don't talk for a couple months, and then you see each other at the family Thanksgiving, you yell at each other, you fight, and then you let it go, and it's like, all right, we're cool again, fine, I guess. There has to be levels to it, and that's all I'll say on that.
Preach, brother, preach.
I want to know who
you're hitting
Mikey's,
all the marks.
Mount Rushmore 4 are.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
So because I watch a lot of everything, like every 5 seconds it changes, but if we're speaking specifically to WWE and the era of WWE, mine are a little bit different because I always gravitate towards characters and also like what they mean to me. So obviously my first one, of course, Mick Foley is one of my favorites. Again, character dynamics outside of wrestling, one of the chillest and coolest dudes on the planet. Like, yes. love that vibe. Kurt Angle is the second one for me because I got
really
well in WWE, but I also was watching a lot of TNA in 2000 as well. So getting to watch him in TNA and then being able to, see him in both of those companies, I was just like, you know what? He is crazy. He's a lot of fun to watch. And, it was fun. Again, I watched a lot of WWE and TNA in the early 2000s. My third one is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, iconic. Like, literally, I have multiple shirts in my closet with Stone Cold because I think that is how you take a character and then you just character-wise, this is like the amplification of what a wrestling character can be was really fun with Stone Cold. I was just like, he was just a badass. It was just really fun to watch him take no crap from no one. It was great. And then the fourth one is my more sentimental, emotional, and that would have to be Eddie Guerrero. I think Eddie was my first real introduction to wrestling. And actually, it was my grandma who introduced me to Mexican lucha libre because, Saturday mornings, that's what she watched when she was a kid. And, growing up, she introduced me to that. But Eddie Guerrero was the one where I was just like, oh, there's someone who looks like me on my screen. So, and of course, all the classic Eddie heel tactics that we get, like the chair spots and things like that. And then, of course, everyone and their mother hitting the Three Amigos as a finisher or like a transitional move is the thing.
Only a couple can do it good. Though.
That's what I'm saying. I was just like,
every time I watch Dom do it, I want to ram my head into the wall. It is so slow-mo and bad. But hey, like, not to derail you, but I really got to ask this question because, like, as you were talking about Eddie Guerrero and like, the influence he had on you, what is your take on the interactions now with AAA and AAA getting more exposed and people seeing it more? Like, I've always known it was out there, but now I find myself seeking it out because it's become a little more mainstream. And it's not just the Mr. Iguanas of the world and stuff like that, but like, I think he's a cool character, and it's the type of wrestling that you can show other people that they go, this is kind of fun and cool. You know what I mean? It's different, right? But like, so I'm kind of curious, like, what's your vibe on?
I think with AAA, and with WWE, purchasing AAA and, also kind of more being a subsidiary, because I'm going to be completely honest, when that news first broke, I was a little worried. I was like, oh no, it's NXT UK all over again, where you completely drained the market in that certain country and then no other, promotions can thrive. But because of what we've gotten, where AAA is still operating on its own merits, but now you have WWE superstars going on over. I think it's a great thing. And again, I think it exposes people to more characters. Again, of course, you have your Mr. Iguanas, you have your La Parcas. But if anything, I think Worlds Collide, was a really good example of what the relationship between WWE and AAA could look like. I mean, I was there live for Worlds Collide as part of the doubleheader for Money in the Bank weekend. So that was a lot of fun.
Lucky bastard.
I mean,
I would have loved to have been there for that.
You know what? I will bring this up when I finish this current point because I don't want to derail us for too long. But yeah, I think AAA being exposed to a more wider audience is great. But then it also, and again, not to get too, I don't even think political is the word, but the fact that you have your WWE talent that is also, Latin descent, like you have Lola going down there, or even talent that doesn't necessarily, is not being used a lot. Like, listen, I love Natalya. Natalya has been a staple in WWE, but Natty Neidhart is where it's at for me right now. I love Natty. Natty,
Preach.
There's a difference between Natalya and Natty. Natty is where it's at for me, especially, and it's fun. It's fun to watch her feud with, one of the women's champions right now in AAA. Like, they've been going back and forth for months in iterations of tags and triple threats and, championship bouts. Like, it's really great. And you know what? It's really fun to see Natty go for that championship, but also work with, I would say her AAA equivalent, who's, a veteran of the sport, been there forever, and is on that level of Natty, which is, Fabi Apache. Like, I love her to death. She's been wrestling for like 25 plus years and she's still going. and it is amazing to watch. And the fact that a concept here, like we call him, is just like when you have Grande Americano Latte go so over in AAA with the Mexican crowd, and I'm just like, what? I told you these nicknames we have for these wrestlers. It's just,
That's funny.
I love it. I love it. We do the same crap. I love it.
Yeah. So with the fact when you have,
Mr. Analogy and nickname, do it.
Well, now
Sean,
because we
tell
have the
him
full faction, you have Grande Americano Latte, you have Mediano Latte, and then Pequeño Latte. It's ridiculous.
Frack. So we call him frickin' Frack.
That's amazing. But to kind of wrap it up, I think AAA being exposed because, again, you get, La Parcas, your Mystery Iguanas, you have the talent coming over, but then, it's been an interesting dynamic too, and obviously it hasn't happened since Worlds Collide, but the fact that, whenever they decide to do it, I still hold on to a dream match. I would love to see Penta and, Vikingo go at it too, because I think the fact that Vikingo and Chad Gable at Worlds Collide had one of my favorite matches of the Worlds Collide was amazing, because I was like, I'm not sure how this works. And then I'm like, oh, wait, this is Chad Gable. He works well with all types of wrestlers, and him and Vikingo had a really excellent match at Worlds Collide. Match. But yeah, I think the exposure is great. It also introduces people more to the art of lucha libre, which I think is super important. And nothing against Ray and Dominic and all the other luchadors to come before through WWE. But there is such a difference of wrestling culture-wise, and then just, the way that lucha libre is revered in Mexico. Like, we here in America, society have, our celebrities with the tabloids and everything. A lot of the luchadors, that's that for Mexico and other, even in South America with lucha libre in South America too. Like, those luchadors are the celebrities in those countries. And so for these kids growing up in like Mexico, Brazil, all these other Latin countries, to see these superstars get to be shown on the United States, it's crazy, and it's really, really good. So I think it works both ways. It gets us to be introduced to lucha libre, but it also gets to see the people who are been watching AAA to be like, oh my gosh, it's like John Cena is here, or Natalia, or even some of the stars from WWE are now here in Mexico, which is great. So I think I was skeptical and I was a little nihilistic at first, but you know what? I think because of what we've seen so far, where it's actually a collaboration and not like a true takeover where all of you are fired, now we're going to take over. So, which is very, very nice.
No, I love that point because, like, first off, shout out to Corey Graves, right? Corey Graves,
good.
A little bit JBL, but Corey Graves, when he was doing the commentary on these AAA shows, he did look, to your point, right? Like, some of us, we've seen Rey Mysterio for years. We saw Eddie Guerrero. La Parca was up for a little bit in WCW. Like, we saw that, but we automatically go, he's a luchador style wrestler. I expect, high flying goofiness, right? Like, that's what I expect from a luchador. Whereas when this whole AAA collaboration started, and we had Corey Graves as our AAA translator, if you will, explaining that the way things work here are different. The why of, so like a tip, because I've had people go back and watch AAA. I'm like, y'all need to watch this. This is great. And like, when they watch it, they're like, well, wait a minute. How come they can do this? Or, like, it was it was basically a Royal Rumble format, but like you could pin people out, stuff like that. So the micro dude, sorry, I'm horrible with names, but but my point is that, all that stuff, like, but explaining to us like why it's different, right? Like, culturally, why it's different. It makes sense. Like, I'm not watching the Mexican equivalent of WWE. I'm watching what they do in the same genre. Hopefully that makes sense. But like, we're watching like, okay, they are wrestling, But the way they do it, the good part to your point is, with it being a collaboration, is I feel like WWE did a good job of not changing the way it should be to make it more WWE-ish, which I think is something. If Vince was around, he would have done that.
He would have ruined it.
We know how to do this better. Whereas they let them be them, he
Well,
would have ruined it. And
yeah.
like in this case, because the poster child for this really should be that match that included Mr. Iguana and Finn Balor. The fact that like Finn Balor had Demonito and was able to interact in the way
It was so stupid, but it was so good. It's my kind of stupid. It was stupid, but it's my kind of stupid.
But my point is,
pro wrestling,
like,
it works. It's just because it works. So
wrestling needs more fun like that, honestly.
Yes, wrestling is supposed to be an escape from all the BS of life. That's it really is.
I love that they just let them be them. It's basically, and any WWE superstar for the most part that goes down there to participate in the the PLEs or whatever, they're adapting to that environment and not forcing the environment to adapt to them is really what I'm getting at. And so like I love your insight on all this. This is like awesome. But
yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And again, one of the big things at BC WrestlePod we do is because, and I can say this because we joke about this all the time, but in our eclectic group of 15, it's myself, my CMLO co-host Adolfo, and his wife. It's like the three of us are Latin, and so for us, it's just like we found this weird conglomeration of individuals where everyone gives everything a chance, and for us at BC WrestlePod, wrestling is supposed to be fun, but it's also important, and that's why we cover so much different styles of wrestling around, here in the States and the world as well. Is just like I always tell people, if you're looking to get into wrestling, I say that if you're looking to find out what the world of wrestling has to offer, even if you don't watch everything like wholeheartedly, it's that I believe that you should have a triangle or a trifecta of wrestling. You should watch one of the major US feds, find a smaller US independent, and then check out one of the international brands too to see what's going on. And I think what WWE and to a certain extent AEW have done is that they have these partnerships with these international brands like WWE, outside of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Now they have a foothold with AAA in Mexico. They also send a lot of their NXT talent on excursion and vice versa with Pro Wrestling Noah. And you also have Marigold too, that is looking to start a relationship with WWE, which is, Japanese women's wrestling. And then in AEW, of course they have, AEW for Dynamite Collision. They have Ring of Honor, but then they are working with, Stardom, New Japan, Rev Pro, CMLL. So I'm just like, in 2025, it is such a fun time to be a wrestling fan because, these major US promotions are branching out to bring the international talent and get eyes on the international talent. And hey, I'm just saying, like, if you like what you see here, go check out, what they got going on over in Japan or in Mexico or in the UK scene, or even Canadian wrestling is great sometimes too. So I
like it.
So
it's
fun.
We're getting back to the almost like the territory days. Does it? That's what it sounds like.
We are.
We bemoan the loss of if the indies brought it back, and now like there's this huge popularity in the indie scene. Now we're getting the territories because Billy Corgan owns NWA, which I haven't seen much of, but we're starting to get back in that territory where you're going to watch WWE, but your little area is going to have their own little company now that you're going to be able to see. Hopefully there'll be some working relationship with the bigger feds like AEW, WWE, where these guys will actually get an opportunity like how it used to be in the 70s and 80s. So I think the future's really bright.
Big time.
You don't have to generate as much homegrown talent now. I'm not saying that I don't think we should be raiding the territories, but yeah, I think we should use them.
I think it just depends too. Yeah, it's like the greatest example right now is like in AEW, you have Konosuke Takeshita. I mean, he signed to AEW, but he also, he is, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion for New Japan. But his origin story comes from DDT Pro Wrestling, which is, Japanese comedy wrestling. Like the clips I see of this kid wrestling on a track and field, and he does the full sprint over like the hurdles and then like boot kicks of his opponent in the face. It's just glorious. But Sean, you had a question before we got into that.
Well, yeah. Well, because we've been kind of talking about this crossover, and you touched on the collaborations and stuff like that. I'm not going to say the word satisfied, but have you been content with the crossovers between NXT, more so WWE? I want to say WWE as a whole in TNA, because Tuesday I kind of crapped on the Dolph Ziggler match a lot because I thought Dolph should have went over, honestly. And I kind of crapped on it because I feel like there's a little more tit for tat, and you are definitely better qualified to answer this, but I feel like in NXT level, there's a lot more tit for tat in the collaboration with TNA, whereas I feel like if we see a Joe Hendry come up, if we see a Dolph Ziggler come up, or Nick Nemeth, insert name here, but if we see that collaboration, I feel like when it goes up to the main roster, they become cannon fodder, right? But whereas NXT, it kind of goes back and forth. They get theirs, you know what I'm saying? So are you content with that aspect of the TNA collaboration? Or are you like me where you're like, all right, let's let them go over on the big boy. You know what I mean? My argument for Dolph Ziggler really was, unless Solo Sikoa is winning the tournament, who the F cares? Let him go over. Because MSG was burning down for him in that match. MSG wanted him bad. And Solo, meh, whatever. I felt like unless Solo's winning the whole thing, who cares? Audible, let Dolph go over. But just curious on your take on that.
So, as someone who, watches, covers NXT, but also TNA extensively, I will say I think I've been okay. I've been kind of mostly content with the partnership between NXT and TNA. I know, and a lot of people are like, they're going to siphon TNA of the talent. I was like, well, no. I'm just like, this relationship has only been a year and some odd change together. But here's the thing, and I need people to realize this too, is it's not a betrayal of, like Joe Hendry. He is now officially a WWE superstar. He's officially signed. He's in NXT. WWE bought out his remaining contract with TNA, and people are all up in arms. And I'm like, why? Joe Hendry has been in TNA for the last 3 years, and not to say that TNA is like an indie. I call it like an indie promotion with a budget and TV time, because it gets a weekly television program. But all these characters that you see and that you grow an attachment to don't. My biggest thing is if they want to go on to big things and they want to go to these bigger companies, why not, right? I mean, it's regardless of how every wrestler feels. Most wrestlers, there are some that are content with just being on the independents, which is good. You know what? And I love that, because we need a thriving independent scene, because without independent wrestling, then we don't really have, what we have now with, these independent talents getting signed to, AEW and WWE, and to a certain extent TNA. But you want to see these people succeed. Now, do I wish some of the more established NXT stars would pop into TNA even for a small stint? Yeah, because, of course, I love all the NXT talent we've been getting. Of course, before he was released, we had Wesley be a part of a TNA pay-per-view. I mean, now him and the Rascals are reunited again in TNA with all 4 of them, which is great. Which is, Jordan Grace coming over to NXT is great. I'm kind of glad that she hasn't been back in TNA. I'm like, she just left earlier this year, guys. Don't ask for her back. Let her adjust to NXT. I've been content with it. I've had some questions, like the whole summer where we had Trick Williams as our TNA World Champion. I was just like, I don't have an issue with Trick, but the fact of the matter is because he didn't, he started defending it a couple of times during the summer, which was great. And then when we hit the fall, it was just like, oh, he's not defending this thing, and it's going to lead to Mike Santana taking that title off of him at Bound for Glory. Don't get me started because I already went on a rant last week. I was just like, no TV episodes for a month. First title defense. Mike Santana gets attacked by NXT stars, and Frankie Kazarian cashes in his quote unquote Money in the Bank for that title. Oh, so hot. But TNA can't help itself sometimes wrestling, from the jaws of, wrestling success from the jaws of defeat is what I call it. I was just like, you guys are being successful. Why are we doing this? But anyways, the only thing I will say to kind of wrap this up is I wish that NXT would be sending over some of their more established stars. Like, for example, I was just like, there are dream matches I would love to see Sol Ruca have with this current women's roster in TNA. Like Dani Luna versus Sol Ruca is immediately at the top of my list. And I'm just saying, character-wise, wouldn't it be crazy? And I know they were previously in the Fed, but the Inspiration, formerly the, iconic, girls, pop into NXT and defend those TNA Knockouts Championship, because NXT has a very deep women's roster where you can do singles and tag teams, in my opinion. And it's just, I wish they said, like, even if it's for like a one-off too, like a Ricky Saints. I mean, we literally had an Oba Femi, which had me super excited, pop up into TNA. I was just like, oh, so we're doing this. Okay. And then, of course, one of my favorite matches of the year so far. And it started out in TNA and is carried over to NXT. Like Javon Evans and Leon Slater going at it at Bound for Glory is probably one of my favorite matches this year. I just wished NXT would send more of their established star, like what we're currently getting with this NXT versus TNA Part 2 Electric Boogaloo storyline, as I call it. You're sending the people that are on Evolve, which I love Evolve, and I do the report cards for those, but I feel like you can, even if it's for like a one-off or even a pay-per-view cycle, like send over like a Sol Ruca, a Zarya, like there are women on this roster that I would love to see.
I think certain talent though. I think that Sol Ruca specifically, like, we've seen her get called up like a couple of times to the main roster, and Matt and I have both been impressed. I think the challenge in your dynamic with some of the established stars is, I think that it's hard for them to, because they got to make us give a damn when they get to the main roster. So I think, I contest that Triple H has a formula with call-ups, right? So here's what happens. You get a couple of sprinkles, right? Get a call-up here. They'll come up for a one-off or another one-off. Then the new year will hit, and then they'll get put on the roster. And then, like, all the people that have been watching them their whole time in NXT are like, why aren't they wrestling more? Why? And they're going to throw temper tantrums, right? But usually that first year is a very slow roll. He's done it with Roxanne Perez. He has done it with a whole mess of the call-ups, right? Like, you see them, you see like, oh, they got something going on. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they'll find a meaningful storyline to inject them into, and now they're a main roster talent. So I think part of the problem with like your Sol Rucas of the world a little bit is they're in that gray area transition phase right now, where they're slowly trying to wean them out of NXT and get them into the main roster. So I think that's the challenge there. Not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying I think that contributes to it, but I think there's other talents that, yeah, you're probably right, can go back and forth. So very interesting.
And I think the other thing too is that I would love to see more TNA talent on NXT as well, because I feel that there's a lot of the younger TNA roster that could benefit from working with, a young NXT. I was just like, listen, if you wanted to be a TNA NXT like independent promotion crossover, like, let's do it. There's a lot of fun to it.
And I, as you were talking, I was like, one of the biggest benefits in all this, and you touched on it with Wesley, right? Like, it actually creates a safety bag for some of these wrestlers, right? Like, so if they don't hit and they get released, but if they've been part of these collaborations and these crossovers, you can go back and reignite that. You've already been introduced to the audience. It isn't the same old, like, he got released, we signed him, great. You get that there's something meaningful there, right? Like, it's like they come into your organization and you're like, oh yeah, you remember when they did X, Y, and Z. And I think that's beneficial to like a lot of the talent out there and all the organizations out there. The more you cross as part of your brands, more you crisscross, the better it is for the talent, because they have those safety off ramps that can, protect them storyline wise, at least longer term.
I agree. I do. But again, yeah. I mean, that's my only real critique about it, but I've been very happy. And again, of course, because I'm biased, because I have certain favorites in TNA that are being used a lot in NXT, like, lo and behold, Leon Slater. I already know. Give it a couple of years. I was like, I will not be surprised when Leon, if he decides to leave TNA, or if, WWE does what they did with Joe Hendry. I'm like, Leon Slater works very well in WWE. And I think the kid is only 21. Him and Javon are only 21. They have a whole career ahead of them, which I was just like, how are you 21 and already? It's crazy.
Javon is only 21.
Told you he was like young. Yeah.
He just turned 21. He just turned 21, I think, last month. And then Leon Slater just also turned 21, I think, 2 months ago. So, yeah, they both just turned 21.
Oof. That kid is going to go to the moon, man. Holy crud. I didn't know he was that young. I knew he was young, but I didn't know he was that young.
And both of them have similar kind of stories, with Javon being a part of, like, the independents since he was, like, 16, kind of similar to Roxanne. Like, they've been doing this since they were legally able to, like, at 16 to wrestle and do all this stuff. And now they grew up wanting to do this. Javon doing independence. And then, of course, Leon also doing more independence, but in the UK. And then, coming over to TNA and now been here for 2 years, signed him 2 years ago. And now fast forward, he's not only their X Division champion, but the fact that they have him and Javon paired up as a team, I was just like, listen, if the inevitable happens and, Leon wants to go to WWE, if they decide, later down the line to put those two as an official tag team, I'm like, my dream match, I need to see those two versus Fraxium. Like, that is my ultimate dream tag team match. Listen, I'm a sucker for flying stuff. I was like, I don't care if it's a spot fest. I don't care if every 5 seconds someone's diving over something. I just need speed and insanity.
Careful. I can handle a spot fest, but you best be selling, man. That's a huge no-no in my world. Like,
which again,
selling?
Yeah, which I think in a Fraxium and Javon and Leon Slater match, those four, in my opinion, can sell their asses off.
Oh, yes, they can. All right. So, Mikey.
Yes.
We're going to have some fun now. All right. Matt and I went through this exercise on Tuesday.
I've been having fun the whole show.
So.
For reals. I was like, it was all a warm-up to this.
I'm like, the fun's just starting now. I'm just sitting here like listening to you guys talk.
So. So Matt and I did this thing. So we're big fans of the Last Time Is Now tournament. Like, the concept of it. There's some things I don't like, but neither here nor there. Mostly results, or matchups or
me. It's just like, we finally have a bracket. I was like, where was this graphic at the beginning? But it is what it is.
That's okay. I want to steal the bracket now. But anyways. All right. So Matt and I on Tuesday, and this is before all the stuff that happened last night.
Right.
Matt and I on Tuesday, we went through and we did a little internal game where we had a conversation, and basically it's quick pitch. All right. We're going to go through all the opponents in the quarterfinals, and then you're going to tell me why, a quick pitch as to why they should go over and win the tournament, or why you absolutely positively think they should not even be considered to win the tournament.
Gotcha.
And I'm not talking like in-game mechanics, if you will. I'm talking like straight up storyline, right? Like, so if you're like, it doesn't make any sense. He's got a whole nother storyline over here. Don't care, because we don't care about kayfabe here. We're talking like reality. Like, what do you think is best for business? And if you're going in and you're in the writer's room and you're going to go, this is my guy. Well, we're going to go through all of them, but you're going to go, this is why I think this guy should go. All right. Or if you say, hey, I don't think we should touch that with a 10-foot pole, and here's why. Okay. So Monday Night's Raw, the first match is Gunther and Carmelo Hayes. We're going to start with Gunther first. Should Gunther win the tournament and why? Or should he not get it and why?
I love Gunther to death. He should not win this tournament, and here is why. Gunther should not win this tournament because while they haven't necessarily said it, whoever wins this tournament is probably going to be fighting for that Intercontinental Championship that John Cena is currently holding at Saturday night's main event in John Cena's retirement match. Gunther has had the historic reign of 600 and something odd days as Intercontinental Champion before being befelled by 666 days as IC Champ, and then he was beheld by Sami Zayn. Who, you know what? I liked that match, and I really did. And the fact that he won with a brain buster onto the turnbuckle, I was just like, Sammy, can we do that more often, please? But anywho, Gunther is an amazing talent. He should not win because since being in main roster, for some odd reason, booking loves to have him around some sort of championship feud, which is cool. He doesn't need to win this IC belt for a second time. I was like, we're good.
Yeah. Woo! I think we had the same logic too. we all thought like, no, he doesn't need it, and it doesn't do anything for anybody, honestly. All right, Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes obviously should beat Gunther, and I might change my mind as we go through the rest of this pick, but he is one of the two people I think who should win. I think Hayes should win. And of course, outside of my biases, like out of every NXT call-up, this kid has done. The kid is the whole package. His wrestling is fantastic. He has charisma. The mic skills are hit or miss sometimes still, but you know what? He's on the better end and has improved. I think that in my mentality, if you're looking for I don't want to say the next John Cena, but if Hayes given the time and if they put in the effort and everything, you can have that next charismatic, face in a certain extent, because we've got both versions in NXT. Carmelo as a face and Carmelo as a heel. He is the whole package, and I think putting him over to become Intercontinental Champion, I think would be really, really good. And the fact that it would actually give him his first main roster singles title, whereas his counterpart Braun Breaker has already gotten that thing, twice, I think he's already had it. So I think Hayes is on the 3 years since Carmelo Hayes has been on the main roster for 3 years. I think it's finally, I'm here to push the Carmelo Hayes agenda and get this kid his first title. And that match would slap too.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well,
and I think, to be fair, to talk about Hayes real quick, I think they're heating him up. Like, if you've seen his last few weeks, you can tell they're kind of heating him up. I also want to point out that, like, when they paired him with The Miz is training wheels for talent, right? Like, putting him with The Miz was meant to, all right, we're going to kind of refine you a little bit and get you where you need to be. The Miz is the airbag, the safety cushion, call it what you will. That's what The Miz is. So, like, that's the whole thing. Matt, what do you got?
I've been saying about Hayes, if you're going to push him. This is a great opportunity. And I think Cena, being the guy he is, wants to elevate a younger guy. He's doing it with Dom 3 times right before his retirement. So why just stay on that same train of thought? You gave Dom 3, let's give it to Hayes or another young guy. Gunther, like I said, Gunther doesn't need it. He's a world title guy, no matter if he's on Raw or SmackDown. It's not beneath him to fight Cena, but it's beneath him to go after the IC title, if that title's still in effect. And he doesn't need that last match with Cena anyway, regardless. And I am a Gunther guy. Love that
If that
dude.
title,
Listen,
man,
there's
if that title is
yeah,
not
Gunther
effect, I'm
doesn't
gonna
need
lose my
yeah,
crap.
Gunther doesn't need to fight Cena in the finals. Whenever we get to it, whether it's a year, 2 years, there is a match that I need Gunther to have now that a certain current United States champion is back. I need round 3 like immediately.
All right. So the other match on Raw this week, Solo Sikoa and Penta. All right. We'll start with Solo Sikoa first. Yay, nay, and why?
I'm gonna say nay. I don't think Solo shouldn't go over, and I will be completely transparent. It's because I'm biased. Now, had this been the Street Fighter version of Solo Sikoa that we got in NXT, where he will beat your butt, but he's funny as all hell when he does it, then I would be here. Like the little small bits we got in Money in the Bank, I'm like, I need that Solo Sikoa back. But the problem is that you haven't had Solo do anything of substance in terms of like him and the MFTs were like, I was like, ooh, we're feuding with the Wyatts, and then that's been like put on pause, put back in the refrigerator, reheat later. I was like, what happened with all of that? And then now Solo and the MFTs are involved with this international coalition, as I call them, with Sammy and Ray and Shinsuke, all this like, and the Motor City Machine Guns. I was just like, this is such a weird version of the Nation of Domination. Like, what are we doing? I was just like, what are we doing? I love all these talent. I was just like, it's crazy that at Survivor Series War Games, that the traditional Survivor Series match is going to be on the Go Home show for SmackDown, but I just don't feel interested in Cena versus Solo because Solo hasn't been given anything or been built up to make me care. I like him as a person, and I think he is fun as a wrestler, but they haven't given him anything creative wise to me care. Which, of course, by default means I'm going to push Penta because I'm like, Puro Latino right here, man. I was just like, that is my Mexican dog.
Well,
and also I feel like the idea of Penta and Cena could be possibly fun.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Solo and Cena have gone head to head before.
They have, I believe, yeah.
For some reason, I think at a PLE they went head to head. So, do we need that? No. It's not like a first time ever type deal. So I'm like, meh. So I agree with all your sentiments, by the way, on Solo. Like I do like when the character comes out a little bit and he starts making his goofy ass faces in the ring, and he has great, like, he emotes his character very well when he's allowed to do it, when he's not trying to play the poor man's godfather and, running his little band of merry men.
Or what
like,
we call him, which is the Temu Weekend. Like, because he keeps dressing like the Weekend. I was like, he's the Temu Wish.com version. I was like, what are we doing?
What you called it? What, Temu Bloodline or Wish Bloodline? Yeah, you were calling it Temu Bloodline.
I did.
The Wish.com version.
I called MFT that.
Yes.
I called it Temu Bloodline. That was before they were called the MFT, and we didn't really have a name. I just called them the Temu Bloodline.
So did we. We alternate between Temu and the Wish.com version.
It's just so bad. And like, yeah, he's got his own thing, like, right now. And it was funny, like, when you mentioned the faction for the the Survivor Series match on Friday, I was like running through my head. I was like, wait a minute, it is truly international. So Motor City Machine Guns represent the U.S. Sammy is Canadian. Like,
Shinsuke's Japan. Ray Phoenix is Mexico.
Japan, Ray Phoenix is Mexico. I was like, ooh, Nation of Domination, my butt. I'd call them the United Nations and start a faction. We're on to something.
So, and here's the other thing too, because we're getting right the Detroit. I love the Motor City Machine Guns, but dang, man, I was like, WWE likes to go right for that. I was like, no, you're not going to mention that. They've wrestled all over the world. They are like your tag team's favorite tag team. But I was like, no, they're from Detroit. I was just like, way to go, WWE. Way to pick the facts in the intros.
Well, hold on now. I'm going to defend WWE a little bit. Like, in the Triple H era, they acknowledge other brands. They acknowledge international stuff. They acknowledge accomplishments elsewhere. They've been doing a really good job about that. So
I agree with you, and
I will give them. I'll defend them a little bit on that. They've been doing a lot better.
no,
on that.
and I agree with you. I agree with you too. Where I'm coming from is like, I just wish that I didn't hear that. There's like, they're from Detroit. I'm like, you guys pick something else to hone in on. Like, please pick something else.
I got
My joke was going to be
like every
Detroit's
single time.
like its own country. Yeah, Detroit's like its own country.
I was just like, jeez Louise.
Well, I got friends from Detroit,
I mean,
Detroit area, so yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that's why I feel that. Yeah, that's why I feel that Solo shouldn't win, and by default, I feel like at least Penta should make it into the next round. But again, because the idea of a first time ever between Penta and Cena could be fun, and the fact of the matter is that however you feel about Penta and his style of wrestling, this is literally his. When he debuted on Raw, like he said it in the on-screen promo and backstage segments and even in interviews with, other outlets, it's just like, this has been his dream. He's finally here and he's going to ride this wave until the end of his career. This is where he's going to be. So why not, give a Penta versus John Cena match, because I know John Cena has never fought Penta, but that would be kind of fun. It would be great.
Wouldn't it be great? Think about this. Wouldn't it be great? Because am I safe in assuming that we all assume Cena's losing his last match?
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well,
okay.
I say yes until I see who his final opponent is. Once we get through this tournament, I was like, I'm 90% sure he's going to lose. But then it will either be like, oh, okay, I'm okay with him losing, or absolutely not.
But would it not be like one of the coolest visuals to see him lose to a Mexican destroyer and get pinned?
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean that sincerely. Like, I think that would be one of the coolest visuals that you could probably recycle for eternity, is Penta giving him, the Mexican destroyer, and just that's how his career ended, taking like this high. It's the equivalent of like ending your career by getting tombstone by the Undertaker, right? Like, it's that iconic. And like, Penta has turned the Mexican destroyer into something that big.
Or even like we saw on Friday too. I'm like, hold up, we're doing a pump handle like Penta driver. Like, what are we? I was like, I haven't seen that move in a hot minute, Penta, and we bringing it back. Let's go.
I think that was sweet.
I love that, dude.
I was just like, shout out to Penta, but shout out to Finn too. I was just like, you wrestled in Japan, you know how to take those real easily, Finn. I was like, that was awesome to watch.
And I love Penta, but I had Finn going over last night, so now I'm like, now I guess I got to ride the Penta wave.
Yep.
I love Finn.
All right, everybody take a deep breath, because the match of matches on SmackDown next week, Rusev and Jey Uso. Should Rusev win the tournament? If so, why? Or should he not? And why?
I'm just going to say it for both. Both of them should not win this tournament. But for different reasons. Starting with Rusev, he shouldn't win this tournament because, I'm going to be for real, unless Sheamus was still in this thing, that I was just like, okay, now I'm actually invested in and care about, maybe possibly Rusev going to the finals. And again, John Cena versus Rusev. I will say, despite some creative decisions, I like Cena versus Rusev the first time we got it all those years ago when Rusev was here in WWE. But I also think that's why he shouldn't win, because that's one reason, because we've already seen them go at it three times, and it's escalated from a singles match, and this was part of the Cena Open Challenge, and then we had a flag match, and then a Falls Count Anywhere, where we had a whole fight in a tank thing, which was crazy. But that's one reason. And then number two, as well, is like, outside of his feud with Sheamus, Rusev also falls into the category. It's like, well, we haven't heated him up enough to make him a credible threat to be like, hey, I'm interested to see this match happen with him and Cena. On the flip side, Jey Uso should not win this championship, because I'm just like, why? It's just my reason. I was like,
no, I think the problem with Jay is the same problem with Gunther,
Mm-hmm.
right?
He doesn't need this championship.
Well, he's definitively been established in the world championship picture.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the top tier right now. So I don't think he wins it because he's already there, right? Like IC is a step back for him, just like an IC is a step back for Gunther. So I agree with you. Like, I don't think either of them should win because I don't think Rusev is compelling enough. And like, Rusev would have been an interesting choice had Sheamus not got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because when they were in their little triple, their series of matches,
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that the belt should have came off of Dom, got it on Rusev, and then Sheamus finally goes over on Rusev. And Sheamus finally goes over, completes his Grand Slam. Well, that's all gotten dorked up now. So I'm with you. I don't think either of these two need it because I don't think Rusev is compelling enough, and I don't think I don't think Jay is at that tier, right?
Right.
So, but okay. So the last quarterfinals match is to be announced. Little birdies have released who the announcee is. So we'll hold off on that one. And LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight win the tournament, yay or nay?
LA Knight's my second pick outside of Carmelo Hayes to win this tournament. I feel that, again, yes, it's another mid-card title for him because he was a United States champion. But again, LA Knight I put in the same category as, a Chelsea Green. I was just like, give him anything. He's going to make the most of whatever. And honestly, too, again, going into what is the end goal and the purpose of this tournament outside of finding Cena's final opponent for Saturday night's main event? Whoever is facing Cena, this is going to be a big moment in their career. Now, I think LA Knight falls into the same kind of points I brought up with Carmelo Hayes, not necessarily on the younger side, but again, the charisma is off the charts with Mr. LA Knight. And the fact of the matter is, him and Cena, going into the match would be great. But also, I'm thinking too, if you have, even if it's just a week before Saturday night's main event, I'm just like frothing at the mouth for a Cena and LA Knight going back and forth on the mic kind of thing too. I was just like, I was like, this is going to be nuts. But I also feel that this would be a good, thing for LA Knight as well. Because again, did I think he was going to beat Roman Reigns when he was feuding with Roman? Absolutely not. But the fact that the crowd was so invested into LA Knight and wanted to see good things for this man, it's kind of how I'm feeling about this now. I want to see good things for LA Knight, man. I don't know why we don't utilize him more into the upper level. I was like, do we not trust him to be in the main championship seat? Is there something that we don't know, that's going on backstage?
No,
but I'm just like, push this man.
I think there's a story. I think there's a story there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, when LA Knight, they're going to keep putting obstacles in him to keep him now because they keep mentioning him. He hasn't earned that title shot, and he's been almost there. So if LA Knight wins it, I'm good with it. But if LA Knight is not going to win it, then he should not make it to the finals because I don't want another instance of just that close. And then he goes over. Plus, word on the street who LA Knight's opponent might be could make an interesting dynamic with the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Can I let the cat out of the bag and say who people talk about?
Hold on. We have three of us here. Matt, Mikey, you guys make your vote. Do we just throw out a spoiler disclaimer and just say who we think it's going to be?
I'm all for it.
I'm for it.
I mean, Mikey, I'm for it. I'm for it too. I mean, I know who it is. Okay, cool. So I was like,
all right. So at this point, if you do not want to know right away who
cover your ears,
LA Knight's opponent is, cover your ears, pause the podcast. But
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yep. It's The Miz. The answer is The Miz. So, which I think is so intriguing on so many levels, and I have to give Matt before we started recording, Matt hit it out of the park. But Mikey, make an argument for the Miz.
So Miz is an interesting choice for me because I am on the fence here, right? So I'm going to start with why he shouldn't. Him and Cena have already gone at it. Now, of course, the fan base, it wasn't necessarily the fondest of that Cena-Miz feud when Miz was world champion back in the day. I was in the minority. I thought it was fine, and I was just like, the Miz is finally where he wanted to be. And after, of course, everyone knows the story of, Miz being thrown out of locker rooms and like having to change in the hallway. And then, going to where we are now, I was just like, who is this reality star TV person? And then I look at Logan Paul, it's like, times have changed. So why I think...
Do you got your promo written on your hand too?
I was
Whoops.
dying. I was laughing so hard. I was just like, that's amazing.
I texted Matt. I was like, but he didn't watch the Rock Cena Rivals episode.
That was insane. But
Logan,
back
and what did he talk, like 10 seconds? He said like 3 sentences, and then like they hit the music for Jey Uso. Like he didn't even get to really roll.
It was like, it's whatever, man. It was a nothing burger, as I call it. But anywho.
Nothing burger.
But that's why I feel like Miz shouldn't win, is because I was like, I've seen this feud already, and I feel like even though it would be a really fun statement, I feel like Miz at this point in his career, I was like, he don't need the IC title, which is okay. I feel like Miz has done a lot already. But I can also make the argument of why, because I was just like, you know what? The story has been is that Cena really hasn't really truly got one over on the Miz. I mean, they've had matches where they both won and lost. But the defining feature of that is the Miz was running with this, when he was world champion at the time, was like, I beat John Cena, like not once, but twice. So that's the through line. And John Cena's like, hey man, so remember all those years ago? I was like, let's do it one more time to find the definitive, right? So that could be a compelling story. It could be fun. And you know what? It plays on the history these two already have. Now, if I had to pick between the two, I'm like, I'm going to go with LA Knight over Miz. But, this one, I was like, I can make an argument for both of why they should move on to the next round and possibly make it to the finals and face John Cena too.
Matt, tell us why you said that Miz is going to go over, at least in the quarterfinals.
Sure. Miz will go over in the quarterfinals because 2 reasons. One, you don't have LA Knight losing in the finals, so it kind of saves him from that stigma. Second of all, it also sets up, because if Carmelo goes over Gunther, you can have Carmelo fight the Miz. You get a story within the tournament. Melo goes over the Miz, gets into the finals, and goes against Cena. So I'm going to call it. Hayes is my guy. I'm calling Hayes to win the whole thing. And then in his journey to win that tournament is also he gets his comeuppance against the Miz, which is an intriguing story in itself. So that's my one good thought for the day. I'm going to be dumb until I go to bed.
Well, it's funny though, because it actually puts a couple of things really curiously into perspective, right? So for the longest time, I've assumed that it was going to be Hayes, because I feel like Cena wants to put over a young guy, right? Like, give somebody their launching point, so I feel like that's his end goal. However, man, if I was WWE and I got that Miz Hayes final and I wanted to swerve the piss out of you, I would put Miz over, because it's not bad, honestly, if Miz goes over, because you have history there, to your point, Mikey. Like, you got that, you have history there. We've been on this kind of like nostalgia roll with Cena on these last few appearances. So it's like we could get a lot of nostalgia going on in the match, moves and everything else. And it would be real interesting to see. So, like, if I wanted to swerve you, I could go Miz. And like, I like LA Knight better, but Miz is my number 3 in this tournament, which is, I think Hayes is probably the most likely to go over, because I think Cena wants to put over a young dude.
Right.
And it'll strap a rocket onto Hayes, who they've been heating up. And I think LA Knight, there's a good argument there just to kind of get him out of the world title picture for a little bit, take a breather, let him go do IC crap, and he can have a couple of things with the IC title, and it kind of streamlines that because now you got Roman poking around, you got everybody else poking around, you got Punk out there, so it's like, do I need Punk, LA Knight? Like, anyway, that's bigger picture stuff.
Right.
So, like, I kind of agree with Matt. Like, let's take him out in the quarterfinals. We don't have to worry about him anymore. He's just gone. And, so Miz would be my number 3, but I think you're just doing that for, get the nostalgia bump, get the built-in storyline with Carmelo Hayes. But it does really got me thinking that Sheamus was supposed to be the one to go all the way.
I think so too. I honestly think, and I was rooting for Sheamus.
I really do. Well, because if you stop and think about it, right? Like, if we got a Sheamus Gunther final, whoo,
like,
there was going to be some really red. Whoo. There would have been a lot of
they could beat the piss out of each other. We can just say it like that. I was like, yes, European wrestling, chop each other, kick each other. Like, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's, I find it really interesting. So I honestly think Sheamus was supposed to go over in this whole thing, which is fine, but Mikey, what else do you want to talk about?
Man, so to kind of wrap up the tournament talk before I get into maybe my next question, so of course, like my top 3, of course, in order, my first pick is Mello, then it's Knight, and then it's Penta for me. Now, the nihilistic person in me is just like, I see Jay on one side of the bracket, I see Gunther on the other side. I was just like, I swear to God and all the wrestling gods and whatever you subscribe to, WWE, I swear if you give me a Jay Gunther final, we gonna fight. Like, we are gonna fight. Yeah. I was like, no, please don't. I don't want this. Knock on wood right here on my desk. I was like, absolutely not. Yeah, so I'm trying to think, what else could we possibly talk about? I mean, because we talked about a lot, and I've enjoyed the conversation. Man, I'm trying to think. What's one that we can ask? I'm trying to figure that out. Oh, you know what? I got one. Okay. So, I have and I love my WWE boys on my podcast. I'm gonna throw them under the bus a little bit. So so we have got a back and forth discussion about, what recently went down on Raw with, Maxine winning the women's intercontinental from Becky Lynch. And we are at a stalemate in our little group, because half of us are like, what are we doing? This is insane. And the other half of us are be like, no, this is a good thing. And I actually talked about this with another friend of mine, because I'm in the camp. I was just like, I actually like that Maxine won. Again, I was just like, we've kind of took a couple weeks and breaks in between to get to where we were going to, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I feel like the hate on Maxine has kind of been forced at this point. I was just like, listen, I know she's not everyone's cup of tea, you guys, and she kind of bypassed NXT to get to where we are at this point. But even still, I'm like, she's been putting in the work, you guys. With that being said, we to kind of play fantasy booker for a little bit, with Maxine being Intercontinental Champion and, AJ and Becky being focused on War Games for right now and possibly setting up that potential WrestleMania match down the line if AJ is going to, get the chance to wrestle at Mania. Who do you think Maxine should feud with first as new Women's Intercontinental Champion, and why?
Wow, that's a good. First of all, I'm going to say I agree with you. I like the fact Maxine went over. And what made it even better was just how great Becky has been at being selfless in the ring. And like, she's got a bad rap. They were calling her Becky Hogan. I'm sorry. I think she's selfless in the ring. She's always putting over younger talent. We've talked about this ad length, ad nauseum on our podcast.
Older talent too.
Yeah. Like
older talent too.
Yeah, but she puts everybody over. And then like, I love this run that Becky's doing, this heel run. This might be my favorite Becky Lynch run of any she's had. Even when she was like headlining WrestleManias and other stuff. I love this because we're seeing a different side. We're seeing this like crazy, like losing her mind. Just the facial she made after losing the title. Like when they were doing ring intros and Becky Lynch was like right in Maxine's face, just talking trash. I love that because it's realistic. And then just like when Maxine won and like Becky throwing a fit and all, threatening to sue everybody, fantastic. So Maxine, I think, has really improved a lot. Her ground game has been awesome. And then, like Sean has told me, that's all her work off to the side with Natty. That's helped. I think she should stop worrying about doing all the flippity stuff and focus on what she's good at. And when she wants to practice her flippity stuff on the outside, once that's solid, bring that in. But her ground game is really good. I'm trying to think on the women's roster, like who would be good for her to feud with.
I have the answer.
I'm thinking.
I have the answer.
I mean, would it be Bailey? But Bailey's kind of a face. So I'm kind of lost right now. I got to
depending on which personality you get from Bailey.
It's partially Bailey. The correct answer is Lyra Valkyria, and here's why. Well, hear me out. I'm gonna give you the long-term booking on this. All right, you're gonna do a program with Lyra, but it's not just Lyra. It's Lyra and Bailey, both of them, because they've been together. Okay, so you can. What happens is throughout this program is Maxine's going to eke a couple out because I think Lyra's way more talented. No offense to Maxine, she's improved a lot, but
Lyra has more years of wrestling experience. I mean, to go from NXT UK to US NXT to now being on main roster, and the fact that she is a student of Miss Rebecca over here too also helps of who she's trained with.
But my point is, there's a first things first. It devolves into a triple threat match that protects Maxine, right? Because then Lyra and Bailey can start kicking the crap out of each other, and that will protect Maxine and let her. I don't want to call it limited, but she is kind of limited move set wise and what she can do, so it protects her so we can stretch this out. Eventually what this is the end state of this is a rift between Bailey and Lyra, okay, with Lyra eventually taking off the belt. Now you have a program with Bailey and Lyra going on, but oh wait, there's more. All right, here we go. For you scary movie fans, but to add to that, the stipulation when Becky beat Lyra the last time was that Lyra couldn't challenge for the title. Well, now it's changed hands a couple of times.
So now she can.
Now we can come back around and we can get Becky and Lyra again. So that's why I'm saying the correct answer is Lyra, but I think you can get months out of this program. Because you get the dynamic with Bailey, you get Lyra, you would have Maxine. Eventually, Maxine's going to drop, which then opens the door for Becky to get back into the mix.
I like it.
Becky, all Becky's got to do is I want my title back. Boom, done.
Very, very.
And you got an instant program.
Well, yeah.
So that's my answer.
And if Evolution showed us anything, that triple threat with Lyra, Becky, and Lyra, Becky, and Bailey, I was just like, this was such a fun match. So I could see that. And honestly, so I'm of two mindsets, right? So the long term is exactly what you said, Sean. I was like Lyra and Bailey to a certain extent because I was like, this is going to be a lot of fun. My other one is just like, that's the long term. There is a short term feud that I had planned, and I was just like, it doesn't need to be anything extravagant, but one, I think it could be really fun for like a short term, like like not even a trilogy. It's just like you give me like one match or even two matches, and then I would be fine with it too. Now,
Ivy Nile.
Exactly. That's exactly who I was going to say.
Nice.
Because
I knew where you were going.
Number one, there's already history there between Maxine and Ivy because they were partnered together before Ivy, turned on Maxine. And Ivy has also, along with Natty, been helping Maxine, with the groundwork and everything. because of Ivy's background too, as you know. Anyways, that's for a whole different story. But yeah. Also, selfishly, I was like, I miss Ivy on my television screen. So I think Maxine and Ivy could be a lot of fun, even if it's a short-term feud. But I think long-term, yeah, Lyra and Bailey is where I would go to.
I wonder if we haven't seen Ivy or the Creed brothers because Chad Gable is getting close to coming back.
Maybe.
And because Ludwig Kaiser stole the El Grande Americano thing, I wonder if we get Chad Gable back.
No, he didn't. He's been the same guy the whole time. Same guy. El Grande.
Listen. I'm waiting for my Spider-Man moment. Spider-Man
like
meme moment. With Chad, him pointing at Kaiser. Both of them showing up at the same time, like some miscommunication happens where it's like both of them as El Grande Americano, like, hey, wait a minute.
Like, you can't
or
be him.
Chad Gable slowly slipping up and like, wait a minute, I'm El Grande today. Something like that. I think it would be great.
And then all of a sudden, El Generico comes out. Just kidding.
That's great.
Sami Zayn and El Generico would be crazy.
That's awesome.
It is amazing. But yeah.
Well, gents, we've been going for a couple hours here. I think we should probably wrap it up. But Matt, Mikey, we're going to give you the last word today. But Matt, tell the folks where to find us.
Sure. Well, you can find us on Facebook. Not Facebook. We don't have a Facebook account yet. We got to get one. But we do have, you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. And before I sign off, I'll probably say it again Tuesday night, but hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Those of you traveling, be safe on the roads. And we'll see you soon. That's all I got from the Sunshine State.
Mikey. Tell us where to find all your guys' great content, man. Like with your super huge staff of folks and
corporate office.
I know,
like,
right?
the corporate, the corporate office is my
LLC
desk.
over there and everything else.
The corporate office is my laptop. It's amazing.
No, but
that is very. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. But you can find me and my eclectic group of 15 at BC WrestlePod. We stream almost every day of the week on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick for all our post-show breakdowns, for the weekly shows, for everything from WWE, AEW, TNA, to all of the international brands and small independents that we cover as well. And it's just a good time. And so you can find us on the YouTubes, the Twitch, and Kicks at BC WrestlePod, social media at BC WrestlePod, everything. My last two thoughts are, number one, wrestling is meant to be fun. It is okay to watch a little bit of everything. And if you love one company, then you know what? That is okay too. But remember, have fun with it. And don't be a Debbie Downer and yuck someone's yum, as I call it, because wrestling is meant to be fun. It's supposed to be, as Matt has said earlier in this episode, it's a form of escapism. So don't, take people out of it and just let them have fun with it. But my final thought is that, and this is more of, anytime I get to be a guest or, be in someone else's house, I have to give props to both Sean and Matt for, continuing to have conversations over the last couple months with me and the fun times that we've had. And I am very grateful and appreciative of you guys having me on. And no, this will not be the last, because now that I've gotten a taste of this chaos, I kind of want more of it. And I also look forward to potentially figuring it out with the two of you, that you guys can come over to our house and also cause chaos over there and join in our chaos too. Because we want more friends on in the wrestling internet space.
No, this has been epic, Mikey. I can't thank you enough, bro. Like, this has been a blast and a half. And it's funny, you're just real quick, your point about we all like different kinds of wrestling, and Matt knows this. I equate it to different flavors of ice cream, right? Like, we all have our different flavors of ice cream. Like, multiple types of ice cream, but it's cool, man, because we all just like the ice cream. no matter what flavor you like. So it's so cool. But go ahead, Matt.
No, I was going to say it was just a pleasure having you on, Mikey, and I'm glad that we're able to do this because I think it's cool to talk about pro wrestling. I think people outside this community just don't understand. They like to poop. They for almost 50 years I've been like laughed at by people. Like now they're like, "Oh, you're gonna be 55 and you still watch pro wrestling?" Well, yes, I do. I'm like, what do you watch? And I could pick fault at what you like. Other people like watching. So like, hey,
No, and I think it's super important too. Like with any kind of niche fandom, if you want to even equate to that, to me, community is the most important thing. So of course,
yes,
I have my 15 at our on our at BC WrestlePod, and the 15 of us are this close knit family. But we also love meeting new folks, and it's because of this podcast and the 3 years that we've been doing this that we've met some really good people, which includes some other small podcasters, that we built a friendship with, and now, same here. And I'm looking forward to continuing to cultivate not just a working relationship, but like an actual friendship, like, you know what I mean?
right.
So
That's it.
I'm with you, man.
I'm here. Also, please stay on with us after we go off, and that way we can find out how to get you. Sean will be able to get you the files and stuff from this. So if you want to use some stuff, definitely.
absolutely, no problem.
All right. Well, that being said, folks, again, Mikey, thank you. It's been a blast and a great way to spend our Saturday. Look forward to future stuff like this. Everybody at home, have a happy Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you guys on Tuesday in our normal slot. Just Matt and I, though. No other cool kids like Mikey. So, anyways,
Sorry for
everyone
the
have a
letdown.
great holiday.
We will find a way to bring the three of us back together. It is all good. I look forward to it.
It's awesome.
But y'all have a good one, and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right.
We're out.